In the spring of 2025, the United States found itself at the epicenter of a burgeoning economic storm. President Donald Trump, in a move that sent shockwaves through global markets, imposed a staggering 104% tariff on Chinese imports. This decision, aimed at addressing trade deficits and revitalizing American manufacturing, particularly in sectors like coal, was met with a mix of fervent support and vehement opposition. The immediate aftermath was tumultuous. Major trading partners, including Canada and the European Union, either retaliated or considered countermeasures. Analysts warned of an impending recession, citing massive stock market downturns and the potential for long-term economic damage. The policy's foundation, based on flawed economic calculations, drew criticism from experts and business leaders alike. Amid this backdrop, the political landscape was equally turbulent. The MAGA coalition, once a unified front, began to show signs of fracture. A public feud between Elon Musk and Peter Navarro unveiled significant internal divisions, particularly regarding trade policy and tariffs. Musk, a recent and prominent MAGA supporter, clashed with Navarro, a longtime Trump loyalist and trade protectionist, in a heated social media exchange. This dispute reflected broader tensions among various MAGA factions, including traditional Trump supporters, tech and business elites like Musk and Mark Andreessen, and populist influencers like Dave Portnoy. Enter JD Vance, the vice president and a rising star in the Republican Party. Vance, known for his best-selling memoir, Hillbilly Elegy, had undergone a political transformation, evolving from a never-Trumper to one of Trump's staunchest allies. His ascent to the vice presidency was seen as a testament to his political acumen and ability to navigate the complex dynamics of modern conservatism. However, the tariff decision placed Vance in a precarious position. As a key figure in the administration, he was expected to support the president's policies. Yet, the economic ramifications of the tariffs, particularly their impact on low-income communities, posed a direct challenge to the very demographic Vance had long championed. The tension reached a boiling point when Kimbal Musk, Elon Musk's younger brother and a prominent entrepreneur in his own right, publicly criticized Vance over the economic impact of the tariffs. Kimbal asserted that the tariffs contributed to higher inflation and elevated prices for everyday goods, disproportionately affecting underserved communities. He emphasized the detrimental effects of tariffs on the cost of living, especially for those already struggling to make ends meet. This public rebuke from Kimbal Musk was more than just a policy disagreement, it was a reflection of the growing discord within the Republican ranks. The clash highlighted the ideological divide between the administration's protectionist stance and the free market principles espoused by many in the business community. As the debate intensified, Vance found himself navigating a political minefield. Balancing loyalty to the administration with the economic realities facing his constituents required a delicate approach. The situation was further complicated by the growing influence of Elon Musk within the Trump administration. Appointed to co-lead the Department of Government Efficiency, Musk's proximity to the president and his role in shaping policy decisions added another layer of complexity to the unfolding drama. The stage was set for a confrontation that would not only test the bonds of political allegiance but also redefine the contours of conservative ideology in America. The ensuing clash between JD Vance and Kimbal Musk would serve as a microcosm of the broader struggle within the Republican Party. As it grappled with reconciling its traditional values with the evolving demands of a rapidly changing economic landscape. It started with a single tweet. On a Tuesday morning, Kimbal Musk took to X, formerly Twitter, and posted, "Tariffs are just taxes. Let's stop pretending otherwise. 100% plus on imports? That's a cost low-income Americans will bear." At JD Vance 1, how's this helping Appalachia? Within minutes, the post went viral. Tens of thousands of shares, likes, and comments poured in. The message was concise but explosive. Kimbal, often seen as the quieter, more socially conscious Musk brother, had directly challenged Vice President JD Vance in the most public of forums. And he didn't stop there. In follow-up posts, Kimbal elaborated on how food costs were rising for his restaurants, how farming equipment, much of it sourced globally, was becoming unaffordable, and how supply chains across the nation were straining under Trump's aggressive trade policies. "I'm not against protecting America. I'm against punishing Americans, especially the ones who voted for this," Kimbal tweeted, accompanied by a graph showing inflation spikes in food and hardware sectors. JD Vance, who had so far remained diplomatically quiet during the tariff uproar, felt cornered. Ignoring the remarks might be seen as weakness. Responding could escalate tensions within an already fracturing Republican coalition. Then came his reply. Kimbal, with all due respect, your brother and you live in a billionaire's bubble. Come to Gallipolis, Ohio and talk to the factory workers finally seeing jobs return. Tariffs are leverage, not punishment. We're playing the long game for American independence. The fire was lit. Conservative media jumped on the exchange, painting it as a modern-day showdown between Silicon Valley elitism and heartland realism. Left-leaning outlets, in contrast, portrayed Vance as complicit in economic harm cloaked as patriotism. Cable news shows aired dueling segments, Kimbal's commentary next to JD's rebuttal, turning it into must-watch political theater. On YouTube, podcasters and political influencers from both sides posted hour-long breakdowns of each tweet, dissecting motives, alliances, and hidden agendas. The hashtag Vance versus Musk trended for over 48 hours. But beneath the sensationalism lay serious ideological questions. Was protectionism the right path in a post-global pandemic, post-supply chain crisis world? Could tariffs really rebuild American industry, or were they just political optics? And most urgently, how would this fracture affect the Republican Party's unity heading into a volatile election cycle? More surprisingly, the clash didn't stop with the two original players. Enter Elon Musk. He didn't initially comment. But after Kimbal's tweets garnered immense traction and JD Vance's rebuttals were framed as attacks on the Musk family's credibility, Elon broke his silence. We need smarter trade policies, not knee-jerk reactions. America wins through innovation, not isolation. Tariffs this high risk turning allies into adversaries. The impact of Elon weighing in was seismic. As head of multiple billion-dollar ventures, including Tesla, SpaceX, and X itself, Elon's opinion wasn't just casual commentary, it was policy shaping. JD Vance, under pressure, appeared on Fox News Hannity to clarify his position. Look, I respect Elon's brilliance. But we've tried free trade for 30 years. All we got was shuttered factories and hollowed-out towns. This administration is about results, real jobs, real families, real futures. In that interview, Vance doubled down on tariffs but subtly questioned Elon's loyalty to the cause. You can't lead a populist movement while still clinging to Wall Street economics. We're not building rocket ships, we're rebuilding middle-class America. The division was clear. This wasn't just about economics anymore, it was about the soul of the GOP. Trump, always watching the temperature of his base, remained mostly silent on the matter. Sources close to him suggested he saw the Musk-Vance feud as a healthy debate, but insiders knew he was privately worried. Elon's endorsement had brought in a wave of younger, tech-savvy voters during the last election. Alienating that bloc could be politically costly. Meanwhile, Kimbal Musk's social following skyrocketed. He began doing interviews with progressive podcasts, farmer coalitions, and local community forums. Though politically independent, his criticism of MAGA policy struck a nerve with a country tired of partisan rhetoric but desperate for real solutions. And through it all, ordinary Americans, truck drivers, teachers, factory workers, and small business owners were watching closely. They didn't care as much about ex-feuds or philosophical labels. They cared about prices at the pump, the cost of groceries, and whether or not their towns had a future. In essence, the clash between JD Vance and Kimbal Musk became more than just a headline, it became a lens through which the nation debated its economic destiny. As the digital war escalated, the consequences began to spill over into the real world. In Youngstown, Ohio, a town that had seen both the rise and fall of American manufacturing, the tension could be felt on the ground. Local union leaders were torn. Some supported the tariffs, hoping they would revive steel mills and bring back legacy jobs. Others feared the retaliatory tariffs from China and Europe would crush local businesses dependent on exports. A local news outlet aired a segment called Tariffs, Hope or Hype, featuring working-class voices. One retired steelworker, Don McCormick, said, "I'm with Vance. For the first time in decades, we got a VP who talks like he's from around here. But my granddaughter's small bakery? She can't afford her imported kitchen equipment anymore. That ain't right." It wasn't black and white, it was gray, like the soot-covered skies that once hung over industrial towns. Meanwhile, Kimbal Musk took his advocacy offline and into action. He visited Des Moines, Iowa, and held a roundtable with local farmers struggling with increased costs on tractor parts. In a short but powerful speech live-streamed on X, he said, "Tariffs are like antibiotics, you use them only when absolutely necessary. Overusing them creates resistance and resentment. If we want a strong America, let's start by strengthening our people, not punishing them." His words hit a nerve. Thousands tuned in. Hashtags like #FairTradeNotTariffs started trending. Influencers from both the left and libertarian right began echoing his message. But back in Washington, JD Vance was not retreating. In a Senate hearing on trade policy, he forcefully defended the administration's stance. These tariffs aren't random. They're strategic. We're targeting industries where foreign governments subsidize products to destroy American competition. This is economic warfare, and we're finally fighting back. It was one of the most watched Senate speeches in months. But as Vance's star rose in conservative circles, his rift with the Musk family deepened. Elon, now indirectly drawn into the spotlight, reposted an article on X from The Economist titled "Protectionism is Not Patriotism," captioning it simply, "Read this. Then rethink." JD's allies, especially MAGA hardliners, began labeling Elon a globalist, a term once reserved for the old Bush-Romney wing of the GOP. Online, a few influencers even called for Trump to distance himself from Musk if he wants to stay on the right side of America first. It didn't help that Elon, in an impromptu audio chat on Spaces, made a pointed jab. "You can't bring back coal jobs by taxing Teslas." The comment was half a joke, but its effect was very real. In small towns like Altoona, Pennsylvania, and Paducah, Kentucky, Trump's base began murmuring, were the Musk brothers a threat to the movement? Was Vance still loyal to the America First vision, or was he veering into his own hybrid doctrine? This wasn't just JD Vance versus Kimbal Musk anymore. It was morphing into something larger, a cultural collision between two visions of the American future. Vance's vision, gritty, patriotic, industrial, and self-reliant. An America built on muscle and steel, protected by tariffs and borders. Kimbal and Elon's vision, innovative, global, green, and digitally connected. An America thriving through ideas, open markets, and interconnected supply chains. And in between? Millions of Americans stuck in limbo, unsure which vision would deliver for their families, their jobs, and their future. In a televised town hall, when asked if he would sit down with Kimbal or Elon to talk it out, JD Vance replied, "I'm not against conversation. But I didn't get elected to wine and dine billionaires. I got elected to protect the people who can't afford to lose another job." The applause was thunderous. Still, some in Vance's inner circle worried that the feud had become too personal, too exposed. After all, if Trump himself decided to pivot back toward Musk, Vance's loyalty might not be enough to keep him on the ticket. In an off-record briefing to political donors, one Republican strategist summed it up best. "This isn't just a feud, it's a fault line. The question is, who's on the winning side of history?" For days, speculation mounted over one question: what does Donald Trump think about all this? Political analysts debated on primetime TV. Conservative bloggers ran polls. Fox News teased a special Trump and trade segment. Trump's silence only fueled curiosity. Then, on a Friday evening, right before the weekend news cycle began, Trump posted on Truth Social, "Elon is a smart guy, no doubt. But Kimbal is way off on tariffs. The only reason America is winning again is because we finally stopped getting ripped off. JD Vance is 100% right, America first all the way." The message sent a clear signal: Trump was siding with his VP. The MAGA base roared in approval. Pro-Vance YouTubers cut clips of the post and spliced them into highlight reels of Trump rallies, JD Vance's Senate speeches, and footage of shuttered factories reopening. The narrative was simple and powerful. Hammer and wrench, Trump and Vance, rebuilding America, one job at a time. Meanwhile, Elon Musk reacted in his own way, cryptic and sharp. On X, he replied to a user's comment that read, "Tariffs won't build the future. Engineers will." Elon's response? A single word. Exactly. And just like that, the ideological divide became personal at the highest levels. JD Vance's aides were reportedly told to avoid further public confrontation with the Musks, but the damage had already been done. Backlash in the business world. Corporate America had been watching closely. For months, major firms had quietly opposed the tariffs but avoided public statements. Now, the feud had forced their hand. Walmart's CEO made a veiled statement at an investor conference. "Consumers are price-sensitive. We can't pretend high import taxes won't hit their wallets." Amazon issued a press release noting how recent trade policies could complicate logistics and pricing across thousands of product categories. Even Ford, long a symbol of American manufacturing pride, said in a quarterly earnings call, "Supply chain volatility due to new tariffs is a concern." And just like that, Vance's strongest argument, jobs, started facing cracks. Economists from both the right and the left began publishing studies. Some claimed the tariffs were saving American industries. Others warned of inflation spikes, supply chain slowdowns, and retaliatory tariffs from trading partners. Cable news churned it all into chaos. MSNBC blasted the Vance administration for economic nationalism on steroids. Tucker Carlson, on the other hand, hosted an entire segment titled, "Kimbal Musk wants you to eat crickets while China eats our lunch." The cultural war was now woven into the trade war. Family drama, political theater. Privately, Elon and Kimbal reportedly had their own disagreements. While Elon stayed mostly tech-focused, Kimbal wanted to keep pushing the conversation around tariffs and food security. In a podcast interview on the Daily Stoic, Kimbal said, "This isn't about partisanship. It's about people. You can't claim to fight for the American worker while ignoring the American consumer. They're the same person." The quote went viral. Millions shared it. Even some moderate Republicans and disillusioned Democrats started tagging #Kimbal was right. But JD Vance wasn't fazed. In a powerful speech at a town hall in Erie, Pennsylvania, he laid down the line. "Globalism gave us fentanyl, ghost towns, and broken dreams. Trump's tariffs? They're giving us factories, pride, and purpose. Kimbal Musk should try running a town instead of a farm-to-table cafe." The room erupted in cheers. Yet behind the scenes, political operatives were worried. The Musk name carried weight with younger voters, libertarians, suburban independents, and business-minded Republicans. If the feud escalated, it could become a wedge issue in the next election. The RNC quietly commissioned polling, and the results were a mixed bag. JD Vance's favorability was surging in the Rust Belt. Kimbal Musk had unexpectedly high approval among suburban moms and Gen Z. Elon Musk? Still the wild card, loved by millions, but unpredictable. All eyes now turn to the upcoming National Economic Summit in Dallas, where both JD Vance and Elon Musk were scheduled to speak. Rumors swirled about a possible onstage confrontation or a surprise Trump appearance. Whatever happened next, one thing was clear. This wasn't just a trade debate. It was a cultural reckoning, a showdown between the soul of populism and the spirit of innovation. The Dallas skyline gleamed under the Texas sun as the National Economic Summit kicked off. It wasn't just another policy conference, it had become the arena for a dramatic face-off between two of the most influential forces in America's future, JD Vance and Elon Musk. The buzz was electric. Cable news anchors dubbed it the tariff tussle. Protesters waved banners outside the convention center, some chanting "Tariffs equals jobs," others holding up signs like "Don't tax our tech." Inside, the room filled with CEOs, governors, union leaders, and media heavyweights. Security was tight. The guest list? Star-studded. Even Taylor Swift and Joe Rogan were rumored to be attending. The opening act, Kimbal's Fire. Kimbal Musk took the stage first. Dressed in a simple blazer and jeans, he didn't hold back. His speech was equal parts TED Talk and town hall. He painted a vivid picture of the small business owner crushed by tariffs, the farmer struggling to sell soybeans abroad, the grocery shopper whose bill had jumped 12% in 6 months. He pointed to a screen behind him showing real-time consumer price indexes overlaid with trade policy timelines. "I believe in the American dream," he said. "But the dream doesn't work if it costs too much to wake up." The audience gave a standing ovation. Even some moderate Republicans clapped. But in the wings, JD Vance waited patiently. And when it was his turn, he stormed the stage like a prizefighter. JD Vance unleashed. Wearing rolled-up sleeves and a focused gaze, JD Vance took the podium. He didn't use slides. He didn't need data. He spoke from the gut, raw, unfiltered, emotional. "I come from a town where people stopped dreaming a long time ago. And now that we're finally fighting back, the elite want to stop us again." He didn't name Musk, but his words cut deep. "They call it inflation. I call it liberation. If paying a few extra dollars means a steel mill reopens, I say, bring it on." A thunderous roar exploded in the room. This was red meat rhetoric, and the crowd devoured it. Then, in a surprise twist, the moderator, CNN's Anderson Cooper, invited both JD and Kimbal for a joint Q&A. The showdown was on. JD versus Kimbal, clash of the futures. Cooper opened with the obvious. "Kimbal, JD, you've both made compelling cases. But is there any middle ground here?" Kimbal leaned in. "I think we both want what's best for America. But I believe innovation wins wars, not isolation. Tariffs make us slower, not stronger." JD fired back. "Tell that to the families who watched their factories shipped to Shanghai. Tariffs aren't isolation, they're self-respect." Kimbal raised an eyebrow. Self-respect doesn't pay your rent when eggs cost $6. JD smirked. Neither does preaching globalism from a rooftop garden in Boulder. The crowd gasped. Cooper stepped in. Gentlemen, last question. Where do we go from here? Kimbal turned to JD. I'd love to show you one of our urban farms in Detroit. Meet the workers. See that tariffs aren't the only path to pride. JD paused. The tension was thick. And I'd love for you to walk the floor of a reopened plant in Youngstown. Talk to the welders. Hear what economic patriotism means to them. Cooper smiled. That's a start. And with that, the crowd rose again, divided in belief, united in energy. A political clash had turned into a cultural conversation. In the weeks that followed, the debate didn't die down. It grew. Late-night comedians joked about a reality show called Tariff Wars. Rust versus Tech. Polls showed voters were deeply engaged, perhaps more than any time since the 2016 election. JD Vance launched a new national tour called Made in America, the Comeback Caravan. Kimbal Musk, not to be outdone, began a campaign titled Grow Forward, Innovation for All. Trump posted again on Truth Social. Great to see the energy. JD Vance equals America first. Musk brothers equals America last. Elon clapped back with an AI-generated meme showing Trump being outvoted by a robot Congress. And the nation watched. Not just a feud, but a referendum. A referendum on identity, on the economy, on the future. Because in 21st century America, the biggest battle wasn't red versus blue. It was factory versus firmware. Tariff versus tech. Heartland versus Silicon Valley. And no matter who won the next election, one thing was certain. America would never be the same again. In the weeks that followed, the debate didn't die down. It grew. Late-night comedians joked about a reality show called Tariff Wars. Rust versus Tech. Polls showed voters were deeply engaged, perhaps more than any time since the 2016 election. JD Vance launched a new national tour called Made in America, the Comeback Caravan. Kimbal Musk, not to be outdone, began a campaign titled Grow Forward, Innovation for All. Trump posted again on Truth Social. Great to see the energy. JD Vance equals America first. Musk brothers equals America last. Elon clapped back with an AI-generated meme showing Trump being outvoted by a robot Congress. And the nation watched. Not just a feud, but a referendum. A referendum on identity, on the economy, on the future. Because in 21st century America, the biggest battle wasn't red versus blue. It was factory versus firmware. Tariff versus tech. Heartland versus Silicon Valley. And no matter who won the next election, one thing was certain. America would never be the same again.